department you're working at, but you will see you might be working schools solely they are like elementary K-5. It might be just like just a middle school 6 or 8, or it must be just like just a high school, just 9 to 12. But we have many campuses. They have combination of these two, and I think we have, I believe, one or two campuses. They are K-12. So on those campuses, they serve students from kindergarten in 12th grade in one school site. But most of the schools serve like from kindergarten to 8th grade, so elementary and middle school together. Or we have schools that have middle school and high school combined, so 6 through 12. So you might be working in, in such campuses as well. So you might like end up having students in middle school, like you might be teaching, like I'm just hypothetically speaking, you might be teaching 8th grade math, but also you might have like 10th grade algebra 2 course as well assigned to you. So depending on the grade configuration at your campus, you might see the combination of these two grade spans. Um, and other than public schools, like traditional public schools and charter schools, there are some private schools. And it's very like popular in the United States. The, the private schools, and some private schools are non-denominational, so they are not religious, but there are some private schools that are religious. So like we have like Catholic schools, we have some other Christian-based schools, or other religion-based private schools as well. But all public schools are secular, so the religion is not taught in the public schools. But if it's a private school, and if it's a religious base, so they can teach religion on those schools as well. Um, it might not be very common in like Europe, or even Asian countries. I'm not very familiar with. Homeschooling is also another options. So there are some families they choose not to send their children to any like school, whether it's charter or public or even private. They keep their children at home, and they have a homeschool system. So they teach like through all like online uh, programs, and they teach by themselves sometimes. So there are, homeschooling is also popular. And after the COVID like 19 pandemic, virtual schooling is like a type of homeschooling. The students they don't attend like brick and mortar like buildings. They stay home, and they finish their school through online setting. In fact, one of the Harmony campuses is a virtual school. So we have Harmony Science Academy virtual school based in Houston, but its students are online, so they can be anywhere from Texas. So we have one campus. They offer virtual school, or online school. And as I said earlier, most of the education is primarily the responsibility of the state and the local governments. Um, and I think the next slide is the funding. This funding structure is actually true for regular traditional public schools. So they like receive only like around 10% of their funding from federal government comes from like Washington D.C. But the rest of their funding, like half of them, comes from the state, like in Texas, Texas Education Agency, and the other half of their income or revenue comes from their local government. Like for so like if you have a like a house, or like if you're not renting a house, if you own a home like house or even apartment here in Texas, like you pay taxes, like property taxes, and some of those property taxes goes to the school that is based in your neighborhood. But that's true for traditional public schools. For charter schools, they don't receive any local revenue, so they don't receive any property taxes. All of their funding, like other than federal, like, so 90% of their funding comes from state. So So this is true for traditional public schools, but charter schools receive most of their revenue from the state. In our case, from Texas Education Agency. Um, okay, so I will talk about a little bit the instruction in our classrooms, especially in Harmony Public Schools, but it's very similar in other schools as well. Um, but I would like to, before I start, but I haven't taught in any place other than United States, so I don't have any experience in other countries. But we have many H-1B teachers, employees coming from all part of the world, and according to their statements, according to their remarks, they say the education system or the educational philosophy, the instructional philosophy is so much different here in United States than the other countries. So if that is the case for you, I put a like a sentence over there. Unlearning is going to be very important to you, and I believe it's a very underrated skill. Let me tell you what do I mean by unlearning. So, like for example, if you have taught in other countries, and if you have a way of teaching there, it might not be a good fit in here in United States. Therefore, so you might want to like unlearn, untrain yourself, whatever you learned, and adapt the new structure or learning and pedagogy philosophies here for United States. Um, if you don't make that transition quickly, you might have some problem and trouble to run your classroom smoothly. And again, this is what I was hearing from like previously hired H-1B teachers. Um, in most of our campuses, we have period schedules. So like we used to have block schedules, but I think right now we don't have any block scheduling in any of our schools. So instead, we have period scheduling. So typically, students have 7 periods a day, and a period lasts about 55 minutes. It can be a little bit less in some schools. It can be a little bit more in other schools. So, and teachers are teaching like about 6 periods per day. So it makes around like 30 periods per week. Again, it can be like plus or minus 1 or 2 hours. And this is what it looks like in a in a in a typical lesson if you observe whether it's an elementary, whether it's in a high school, whether it's in a middle school classroom. So, and I know, like in many of the countries, like lessons are run almost like 100% by the teacher. Like teacher goes in front of the whiteboard, and they start teaching or presenting. Even if they use technology, they're presenting on the computer or on the projector, almost the entire class. Uh, that's not the case here because students here, especially if they're in elementary, they don't have a large attention span. They cannot listen an adult nonstop 55 minutes. They cannot even listen an adult for more than 10 or 15 minutes. So therefore, here the lessons are designed in chunks. As you can see over here, usually teachers start with their lesson with a warm-up question. We call it, there are some other names for this. So sometimes some teachers call it warm-up, some teachers might say bell work, some teachers might say hookup. Usually like it takes like 5 to 7 minutes. Usually it's and that depending on the subject as well. Sometimes they might be a prior work, like something they have learned yesterday, and you might put like 1 or 2 questions up there to practice what they have learned yesterday, or or it might be a question that might spark their curiosity about the topic that you are going to be teaching in that lesson, and you might ask them to write a paragraph about that question or write an reflection. So before you start talking or before you start your teaching, like 5 to 7 minutes, kids work on their warm up, on their work. So this also helps for your classroom management, because if you have a good classroom management routines in your classrooms, whenever students sit on their desks, they see, oh, there's a warm up on the board, and they immediately open up their notebooks or grab a piece of paper and work on the warm up. So it helps you to start your lesson in a smooth way. In that 5 minutes, you can take a very quick attendance roll, and you can like like rotate in the classroom, and kids are settled, and you're ready to teach your lesson. After the warm up, you might start with your explicit instruction, or we call it like direct instruction or whole group teaching. And in many cases, this shouldn't be more than 15 minutes. If it is an elementary setting, if you are teaching an elementary level, even this should be not more than 10 minutes. But in high school, you might do that for 15 minutes. And after you like taught the main idea or whatever the subject, depending on the subject, you teach the topic for that with as a whole group, and then then you assign guided practice, what they have learned. And while they are doing the guided practice, you again go around the classroom, you help them around. If they have a question, you answer their question. Sometimes they can work as a group during this guided practice. And then it might take again like another 10 to 15 minutes. And then you might want to give them to do like independent practice, so that the students practice by themselves about the topic they have learned on that day. And usually like last 5 to 10 minutes, you might want to do like a quick like formative assessment. This is not like a huge like a test or quiz. It's just like we call it exit ticket. Uh, uh, it's called exit ticket because it's the end of the lesson, end of their before they leave your classroom. So they might do, and usually it takes like 1 or 2 questions, and you see like, and when you quickly grade those exit tickets, those assessments, you can have an idea. Oh, okay, my kids have learned what I taught this today on this topic, so they have a clear understanding of the topic. Or the scenario could be vice versa. So, like when you look at the exit tickets, oh, none of my students solved the problems, so they might not have learned that topic, and you might want to do some reteach or scaffolding tomorrow before you teach tomorrow's lesson next day. So this is, as I said, this is a typical lesson. So it's not just like, as you can see in here, it's not like, I think it's even in our mission. So the teaching in the United States, mostly it's student-centered. It's not teacher-centered. Like if your classroom, if you are the one who is working the most, so that means you're doing something wrong. Usually in the classroom, the students should do the more of the work. So sometimes you are gonna be just facilitating that learning. So you don't feel you're obligated. You have to teach like all 55 minutes. Like as I said, the kids, they don't have that attention span, and they're not used to have that kind of teaching either. So usually like that explicit teaching usually takes 10 to 15 minutes. And when you have like your classes like having chunked like this, like having 5, 6, 7 activities, or 6 or 7 learning opportunities for students, it also helps the fluidity of your lesson, so it goes easily and smoothly. if you do so, and you can set your classroom management a lot easily and more effectively with this type of setting. I think tomorrow you will have more detailed information for each curriculum directors. So I think you might have some breakout sessions. So with your subject, so they might give you more information on the structure tomorrow. If not, so at your campus PDs and district PDs, you will be you will be you will be trained in this one. All right. So next I would like to show you a movie clip that I love to watch every time that I do, and it is a great understanding of how education looks like and how you should approach the kids and the learning. So it's by Rita Pearson. It's like a long former teacher educator based, actually she's from Houston, and she had a TEDx talk, and name by that the name of that movie clip or YouTube clip is called "Every Kid Needs a Champion." So let's listen that. I hope you hear this time.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44,
Before I continue, do you hear it? Mr. Özçelik, do you hear
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
perfect.
Very well.
Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead. It's gonna be like 7 to 8 minutes movie clip. It's awesome. So let's have your attention to this movie clip. It's very energetic, very moving.
I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. I said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise. You just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you?
Okay, guys, today is the technical issue. Sorry, it was the last. That's why we will dismiss now. See you tomorrow morning around 9 a.m. in the morning. sleep well, eat breakfast, and because tomorrow morning is the topic is very important, classroom management. It is a very important case. Please see you tomorrow morning. A good one. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.